Hello, this Weekend Handicapper from weekendhandicapper.com. In this video, we are going to look at 7 ways to build a bankroll for betting on horses. A bankroll's super important. We don't need much to have fun in this game of thoroughbred horse racing, but we do need to be funded and have a bankroll. Now, speaking of bankrolls, it is super important to have a bankroll that is exclusively for betting on horses. Set aside certain amounts of money just for betting on horses. This is very, very important. I can't stress this enough. Before we go much further in this presentation, we have to have clarity on this. The money that you use to bet on horses shouldn't be for living expenses. Shouldn't be your rent money or money to help out your kids or your spouse or pay your health insurance. So please set aside money exclusively for betting, your gambling pursuits, because you might have heard the saying, scared money never wins. So if your car payment, your rent, your grocery are dependent on whether or not a certain horse wins or loses, that is no way to live, and you shouldn't approach horse racing in that manner because it's very stressful. It shouldn't be that stressful. It should be a fun hobby, a fun way to make money in your spare time. So it's crucial to set money aside that is exclusively for horse racing betting. Therefore, if you lose all of it, it doesn't affect your day-to-day life and your day-to-day living expenses. So a recommended way to do that is keep a separate bank account for your bankroll. So have a particular savings account set up that you can put money in there just for your bankroll, checking account, whatever you need to do. Separate your bank or your bankroll for betting on horses from your other accounts. Again, because it won't affect it whether or not you succeed or lose by betting on horses. You won't be affected at all. And if you like to make budgets, and if you are a believer in making a budget and sticking to a budget, then horse racing should be in the entertainment category of your budget. So basically, if you set aside $30, $100 a month for entertainment, like going to the movies or going to a sporting event, then this falls under that category, according to most people, and I agree. So I always had the feeling that, look, you can go to an NFL game, MLB game, college football game, and you could spend hundreds of dollars, even going to the movies. It seems like if you take a family to the movies, it costs a lot. So at least with horse racing, you can potentially get your money back and then some. It's hard to do that sitting in the stands cheering on your favorite sports team, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's just this kind of entertainment you can get a return on your investment. All right, so let's start with some of the ways, 7 ways to build your bankroll. Well, the first, it's common sense. Save a little from each paycheck or source of income that you get. That could be Social Security if you get Social Security. That could be pension or a retirement check. Just save a little bit. Saving's a great habit no matter what you do, whether you bet on horses or just day-to-day life. So definitely save a little bit from each paycheck because that adds up over time. If you get raises, if you're fortunate enough to get a raise or get bonuses, save that. That's basically money. Just act like you didn't have it, right? You're not getting it. And it automatically goes to your bankroll. That takes a lot of pressure off people having to come up with money to bet on horses. This kind of extra money can be used to help you out and fund your bankroll. And then if you're at the point right now, or if you're in the process of building your bankroll, if you lost your bankroll and you're looking to build it again, really think about delayed gratification. And so what I mean by that is, it could be beneficial to you to just hold off actually putting money on horses for a few months and instead playing on paper, which means you just get some past performances, don't bet, just kind of practice your craft, get good at picking out winners and making out tickets for those few months. So while you're saving your bankroll, saving up for your bankroll, and over time you'll have a decent bankroll. So, for example, if you don't have any money to bet on horses and you get a hold of $50 to put in your bankroll, $100, now you could bet, I suppose, and there's no shame in that, $2 bets or something, but you might be better off waiting, delayed gratification of betting for a few months so your bankroll could be $500, $1,000, because if you have that sort of bankroll, you have a lot of options, and needless to say, you'll get a lot more return, you'll profit more on those same types of bets because you bet more. You have a larger bankroll. So maybe if you're still in the stage of building your bankroll, maybe wait a couple months till you actually put bets down until you saved a sufficient enough of money in your bankroll to where you can have a lot of options and you can last longer. The more bankroll you got, hopefully the more time you will have before you have to fund that bankroll again if you bet smart and you make good wagering decisions. Another option, another way to build your bankroll is to work more. If you got a job where you can pick up some overtime or work a few hours more a week, then that can add up. And that overtime money can be used to build up your bankroll. Or if you have a new project coming along, you can volunteer at your job to take on extra duties or take on a new project, and hopefully you might be compensated for that, or at least get a raise because of those projects that you took the initiative on. So look for ways, any ways, to work a little more and use that work, those hours, those extra hours, or extra projects that you might work on that you get compensated for, to be used for your bankroll. That's a really good way to build your bankroll. Along those same lines, if you don't work more, or if there's no overtime available, or if you're just not interested, you hate your job and you don't want to spend any more time there than you already do, well then maybe find some ways on the side to make some side income. So there's numerous ways that you can create some side income that can help you out, and that it doesn't necessarily have to be applied to betting on horses, but I know plenty of people that do things outside of their normal job that fund their vacations, or they sock away money for retirement through means of their side income, the things they do to earn money on the side that is vastly different than their day-to-day job. So some examples: cleaning houses, mow lawns. If you're good with technology, build websites or edit videos. If you're really skilled, handyman. I know plumbers and electricians that do things on the side that really, really make some nice extra money each month. And then no matter who you are or what you do, every one of us got some skills that we can probably show others, whether that's how to fix cars or program a computer, or if you know a musical instrument, you could teach lessons. So just really think creatively and get creative and try to find side incomes that can not only fund your bankroll, but also help you out with your other expenses or fun things you want to do, whether it's traveling or just buying a new TV or a computer. The options are endless of what you can do if you can think of ways to earn money on the side. But for the purposes of this video and this presentation, that side income can be the money that can fund your bankroll. And then once your bankroll gets to a certain point, once you get to a certain point in your skill as a handicapper and a horse player, then you might not have to fund it for a long, long time, if ever, if you hit the right kind of big scores. The next way to fund and build your bankroll is to sell stuff. Sell things you don't use. We all got stuff laying around the house that we don't need anymore. That's just in our way, that we don't use. We used to like it. Now we don't. It's in our way. I can tell you numerous things that I've tripped over and throw out of my way because it's sitting in this extra room that I'm like, well, why do I still have this? And we're blessed in this day and age to have a lot of outlets where we could sell stuff, whether that's, of course, eBay, Facebook Live, Craigslist, have your own yard sale. There's so many ways to sell some stuff that you don't use or no longer need, and reduce clutter as a result of that. We don't need that much stuff when you sit and think about it. Unless it's important to you, unless you use it, then think long and hard whether you still need it. And if you don't need it, maybe think about selling it. And the money that you get from selling stuff could go into your bankroll. So that's another way to build your bankroll for betting on horses. Tax refund. This kind of falls along the same line of like getting a raise or a bonus at your job. You know, that money, you can act like it's not even there. Once you get that tax refund, if you get a tax refund, I realize not everybody gets tax refunds. Sometimes we have to pay Uncle Sam. Depends on your tax bracket and your income. But if you do get a tax refund, maybe that could be your bankroll every year. Depends on the style of betting that you do, what kind of bets you make, and how large a bets you make. But I know plenty of people that $2 bettors, $5 bettors, that their tax refund, if they don't get too out of control, that's their bankroll every year. That keeps them in the game, keeps them interested in horse racing, and they use that tax refund to bet on horses every year. And sometimes they keep all their refund. Sometimes the refund is gone, but it would be gone anyway if they bought certain things, and maybe those certain things don't give them as much joy, or it's a one-time expense as is horse racing, where they can keep that all year long, or at least half a year, that refund, using those funds to play the horses, to play the ponies. So tax refund could be an excellent way to build your bankroll if you don't need that money for day-to-day living expenses. Remember, betting on horses should be entertainment. First and foremost, it should be fun. If it's not fun, if it's not enjoyable, then think long and hard about keep doing it. Now, hopefully, sites like Weekend Handicapper, this YouTube channel, Weekend Handicapper, can show you how to get better at betting on horses, where you can really have some fun if you are a consistent winner, or win enough to enjoy this wonderful game. All right, found money. Found money is another way to build your bankroll. Any extra money you come across, apply it to your bankroll. So if your family or friends gave you some money, or you one good way to kind of accumulate money over time. Now, hear me out. I understand that some of these methods might not give you a lot of money right off the bat, but over time they accumulate. There's a good saying that I always heard growing up, that if you take care of your pennies, the dollars take care of themselves. For example, if you get in the habit, if you still pay cash, I know that might not be the majority of people anymore. They throw out those debit cards and whip out those credit cards paying for stuff. And there's certain benefits to doing that. But if you pay for cash, maybe consider all the change you get back when you make a purchase, all that loose change. Just put it off to the side. Let that accumulate for a year or two. You'd be amazed how much money you got. Sure, it's not going to be, a boatload of money, but that little spare change, instead of putting it back in your pocket or using it again, just set it aside, put it somewhere safe, and let all that change add up. So that's an example of found money. So again, take care of those pennies. If you take care of those pennies, those dollars are going to take care of themselves. So found money is another way. Any money you come across, sometimes you get refunds in the mail or you get cash back on credit cards. All that can be applied to your bankroll. Again, I know this, I keep repeating this, but it's so important. Bankroll, let that money be something very separate that doesn't affect your day-to-day living expenses. And finally, birthday or holiday gifts. If you so choose, you could say, hey, my birthday's coming up, or we usually get Christmas presents or holiday gifts for each other, and I never use any of them, and I feel guilty about never using it, or I re-gift some things. How about y'all giving me something that I really enjoy? You all know that I love, on the weekends, betting these horses and watching horse racing and trying to make me some money betting on horses. How about you give me a little money instead of buying me this crock pot or this wrench or drill that I got 8 other drills and I only use one of them every 2 years? How about instead of giving me that same amount of money, fund my equine habits, my equine entertainment? So if you like, there's nothing wrong, in my opinion, for asking people for if your birthday or your holiday gift to be money that you can use to bet on horses. To each their own, but sometimes when you go out, if somebody takes you out to eat for your birthday, not everybody's into that. They could care less what food they eat or what fancy restaurant they go to. They'd much rather have 80 or 100 bucks to bet on horses. So, and I can't say I don't blame them, honestly. And again, if you get good at betting on horses, you can make that experience of betting on horses and the money that you use betting on horses, you can make that last. You can really make that last if you pick your spots and you make the right wagers that improve your odds of getting some money in return. You can stretch out that bankroll for a long time. So what I mean is versus if you're not into, look, I love going out to eat and hanging out with family and friends. But if you're not into that, if you kind of dread, oh my gosh, my birthday's coming up, I know they're going to take me to so-and-so again this year when I'd really rather not go, well, be honest with them. Because that one experience and that $100, $150 of going out to eat, you can take that $150, maybe turn it into a lot more than $100 or $150, or at the very least, instead of that one night experience on your birthday, you can use that money week after week to maybe bet on horses. And so your experience, the same monetary value, whether it was eating out or betting on horses, eating out is just one night or one day. Betting on horses with the same amount of money could be week after week. You never know. So you can get a lot more entertainment than just one night betting on horses. Of course, if you bet all of it in one night, that's it. But at least it was fun, huh? All right, so let's recap. Keep those living expenses and that money for betting on horses separate. Make sure they don't interfere with each other. That way, win or lose, you'll be happy. Well, you'll probably be more happy if you win. But at least that money that you set aside to bet on horses doesn't affect your family, your day-to-day living expenses doesn't affect your kids or your retirement, anything like that. So make sure you keep those separate. It's highly recommended. And betting on horses and making money betting on horses is meant to be fun. If it's not fun, again, please do not do it. Do not do it. Life is meant to be lived and enjoyed. And sure, we all get frustrated when we get beat at the wire or get nosed out, and when we lose money, it's not a good feeling. Don't get me wrong. But the intellectual pursuit and the skill of handicapping is a very enjoyable process for a lot of men and women. And it is an enjoyable thing when we can make money on it. But just the process of handicapping and figuring out this difficult puzzle on most days of the week, if you so choose to play horses on most days, is very intellectually stimulating, and it's exciting when they run. So it's a really good habit and a hobby to get into. I know there's some stigma with gambling and betting on things and betting on horses, but if you enjoy the process of handicapping, it is highly enjoyable, a lot of fun. So, and it could be even more fun when you're well funded and you have a bankroll. So save that money, work more if you have to, save all your bonuses, your overtime. If you got any found money lying around, or go ahead and put that towards your equine investments. Sell some things that you don't use or no longer need. You can free up some space in your home, along with freeing up some or funding some more of your bankroll. And then ask family and friends if you instead of things you don't need or gifts you don't want, maybe ask them for some equine investment money. And then side income, if you want to think of creative ways to make extra money, not only that can help your betting on horses, but who knows, that might lead to a nice side income and extra money that you can use in other parts of your life that you enjoy. All right, so this is Weekend Handicapper from weekendhandicapper.com. If you hadn't already, subscribe to this YouTube channel and check out weekendhandicapper.com for all the latest tips, tools, and resources that help you make money on thoroughbred horse races. So go on out there, find ways to build that bankroll, get you a nice bankroll so you can play this lovely sport week after week, weekend after weekend. And until next time, happy handicapping and smart wagering.